Okay, so I've got the red tightening knob moved on to the other side. Now that I've done that, I'm going to start with the paracord wrap. I'm just going to start off by folding it over, making a little loop here. Basically you want it just going a little bit past the end, and then your loose end here, same thing on the other side, just a little bit past. You can do quite a bit of slack here. It isn't a big deal. You're better off to have too much slack than not enough. It just means you're going to be wasting a little bit of rope because you're going to be trimming this off and this will get pulled through. Now the trick from here is to not lose your grip on this and kind of bring this around. Get this all nice and tight. Oops. So this first part is definitely the hardest part. Okay. So now I've wrapped it around there 2 times. Just going to try and do it again. You're going to want to make sure you pull that tight each time. So not only tight towards you, but also towards this end here. So come in nice and tight. We're just going to keep doing that each time, making sure it's tight. It's a little bit tricky because these arms keep wanting to move. So the other side I flip it around and just throw an elastic over it to hold it in place. And this side I'm just going to have to struggle with. So I did a double loop there. It's about the most you want to do without tightening it. Now I'm just thinking it might actually be a good idea to leave this red tightening knob off until you're done. Once you've grinded it up, you can take it off. It's actually snagging this rope each time I go around. At this point I'm not going to bother to pull it off though. Just a tip for you guys as you're doing it though. I hope this turns out a little better than it looks on the camera because it's looking pretty overexposed there. So another thing I do is I keep grabbing with my thumb and pulling this direction. I want to pull it in nice and tight. So if they're not tight, you get a little bit of a gap between each one and it doesn't look too nice. I always kind of use my thumb to hold everything in place. So this part here is tricky. If you've got this knob off, you just got to be mindful of where it's going to be. You might want to put it back on at this point. And unfortunately, you're not going to get right to the end on this side because you've got that post through there. But this is what we got now. I'm just going to move the camera in a bit so you can see what's going on. So I've still got this loop sticking out on this end. It's still not as quite as tight as I want it to be, so you're going to look for little gaps. You're going to want to move those in. Anywhere it just doesn't look good, try moving around with your finger, get it in place now, because once you tighten this up, it's not moving. On the other side, we'll see we've still got this end sticking out. That first little wrap there is a little bit loose, but that will tighten up, so don't worry about that. Just make sure everything's nice and tight. And what you're going to want to do at this point, come around one more time. You're going to run it through this loop. And I haven't tried going through twice before. I only did it once last time. I'm gonna see what happens here. No, that doesn't work. Just didn't look proper. So at this point, we've still got a lot of slack here. Still got the loop sticking out. What we're going to do is we're going to grab this with the pliers and we're going to start pulling, and that'll pull this through. So just give me 1 second here to reposition some stuff. Let's move the camera up a bit. Okay, so take my pliers, grab this piece here, and keep an eye on this loop here. Fortunately, there just isn't a way for me to do this without covering it with my hand. So I'm going to pull through, and you're going to see what happens here. This loop is going to pull in. So you want that process to start happening. You're probably going to need to guide this in a bit with your finger. Once it's in a bit, you're going to trim this off. Okay, so at that point it's tight enough that I can trim this off. Just going to use my knife here. Move the camera up a bit before I light this flame. So you always want to melt the ends, otherwise the sheath could pull off the inner strands and things start to slide around. It just doesn't look too good in the end. So I'm going to let that do its thing for a bit. So here's the end result once I've pulled this loop all the way through and trimmed it off. You can still see I had to tuck it back under here. There is a bit of a bulge here from the melted end. Same about right here. This is the end I pulled through from here. I'm kind of thinking if you don't melt the ends at that point, they might not create so much of a bump, and they might pull through a little easier. And as far as fraying goes, it's not going to really matter once they're tucked inside. So that's something I might consider if I ever redo this or do another wrap. Overall, I like the result here. A little bumpy a bit on this side, a little bit of exposed metal here where I pulled it through. This is largely because of the tightening knob. But on the other side, it looks a lot better, much more even here. Gone ahead and done this side as well. This side looks great. Same thing right here. You can see where it kind of shifted up as I pulled this through. Bit of a bulge here, that's the line pulled through, but overall it looks great. You zoom on out here. Everything's inverted. Alright, so that's the end result. With the blade, it looks something like this. That's my new Saw-vivor with paracord wraps and the red turning knob moved on the inside. So now all I can do is take this out in the bush, try chopping some logs, see what I think of it. Hopefully it was worth the effort. So I'm just out in the clay pits today. I'm going to try out this saw that I modified this morning, see how it works. So the blade went on nice and easy there. It's nice and tight. There's no issues there with stability. So let's see how well it cuts. have it, still works great. My hand, I have a few little dimples on it from the paracord, but overall it's pretty comfy. This little red tightening knob didn't hurt my hand at all. It did slide down a bit and just kind of jabbed it. So I guess just make sure the little wings on it are pointed to the sides rather than pointing at your fingers. And yeah, it felt pretty good. You could use a softer rope other than paracord. Paracord is just nice and cheap, readily available. But something a little softer might feel better on the hands. You could even double it up. The issue then is it might not close up properly. And for me, I've got this little carrying case here. It might not fit in there if I make it too thick. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with this modification. It worked out great.
If you'd like to see more of my videos, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel.
So, pull this through. I'll flip that around, see if I can get a better angle on this. Oh, that hurt. That just smashed my knuckles. Whee, that was painful. Whew, that stinks. So let that cool for a bit. The other side looks like I didn't do that either. Did not expect that. Guess that's why you shouldn't do it over top of a towel. But the towel was just kind of here as a backdrop. Oh, it melted on this end. Okay. So don't do that.